Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon, as we got plenty to get to today here on a Monday. Going to recap the weekend that was. Boy, that was crap. And so we're going to try to make sense of it in a little bit and get to your reactions too. But some positives going on because Razorback Basketball does start up this week. We'll have some fun with that, getting in some Bet Saracen props. And can't forget the best and worst of the weekend, presented by LEROY Lounge here on Dixon Street. So plenty of things to discuss, but hopefully everybody had a wonderful weekend, which I know they didn't. But either way, guys, it's good to see you once again being back on the show. Felt a little under the weather this weekend, but I'm on stage a comeback. But I guess that's what Razorback football does to me sometimes.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of people felt under the weather after that, but it's good to see you, man, for sure. It looks like you're coming around. I'd say we'll go 81% of your best right now.
Yeah, that's true. I'm playing after being listed as questionable on the depth chart. I am getting in, and I'm playing right now. So yes.
Here you go.
Yeah, you look good. I was beginning to worry about you. Enough people asked about you. Were like, it started off. They were like, "Hey, where's John? Where's John?" I knew where you were, and I was like, "Oh yeah, John's just he's taking care of business, doing some things behind closed doors." And then the more they kept asking, the more I started being like, "Did something happen to John?" I was like really starting to get concerned, and then so I'm happy to see that you're alive, which I was able to confirm about 9 minutes ago.
We did share a text with each other. Andrew and I did about 7 o'clock last night, and we were like, "Are we sure John's okay?"
Yeah, it's one of those things to where it's just it's a lot, to try to recover from it. And this may become quite a shock to a lot of people, but it's really hard to do your job for a living when you have to talk and you can't talk very well because of how you're feeling. So it kind of limits you a little bit. But either way, back and better than ever, getting after it this Monday. And we got plenty of things to get to, folks. We'll get to your chats, which we always appreciate, and the interaction that we have. We'll also get into your phone calls if you want in on the conversation. I'm sure we'll have quite a few of those today. 478-344-6623. And Andrew and Curse, I know you guys, of course, held down the pod of that nature post-game show, did a great job with the report card and everything over the weekend. So I know you guys are probably about to the point of like you've talked about each and every angle from this Arkansas Ole Miss game. But we enter into a bye week. And I'll just say it because I know you guys, of course, said pretty much everything I felt too when I had a chance to listen to it. But man, like that was embarrassing. It was pathetic. It was a showing that I really didn't expect, which is saying something because I try to expect the unexpected. I felt like there was a chance that this game could get out of hand and it could be a blowout for Ole Miss over Arkansas just due to the fact of them defensively. What I did not expect is Arkansas's defense to look like it did under the Chad Morris era or even under the 2022 season and everything. And so how I feel about it, and again, we'll have a lot of reaction from the fans, I'm getting to the point where I think this is about done. I think this is about it. I mean, you can't. You got 3 games left. You got this bye week. You got Texas coming to town. Whatever it is, but I just can't sit here and try to pretend hope, like try to fake hope, fake belief, fake anything. I can't do it this week. I have no excitement. I have no energy for this team. I have no energy for the rest of the season, and I don't have any belief in them. And that's what happens when you get trounced the way you did and embarrassed on your home field once again. And I just really feel close that this is about to be really interesting and a lot of things about to change here in the next month or so.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to feel that way, John, because honestly, it's not the fact that Arkansas lost the game. It's the way they lost the game, right? I mean, I think Sam Pittman over the course of 7 days, like in the eyes of many, kind of coached his way off of the hot seat and then coached his way right back on it. By that, you cannot have this ever, much less in year 5, where you're giving up 63 points and on your home field, and you're just letting a team just set record after record and rub it in your face and celebrate. And now Lane Kiffin's trolling you on Twitter. It's just a horrible look, an embarrassing look. And it goes back to a pattern of what's been going on at home under this regime. And the Tennessee game, unfortunately, turned out to be an outlier because every other example that we've had here recently is Arkansas just getting the hell beat out of them and looking completely unprepared, like they don't belong on their own home field. And you just cannot have that. And so I understand the frustration that everybody has after this one. I think the frustration is amplified when you go to the post-game presser and you have a head coach who is not frustrated by it, or at least doesn't appear to be. And it's like, what the hell does it take to get a little bit of emotion and a little bit of fire out of this guy? It didn't happen on the sidelines on Saturday, and it didn't happen after the game. And now here we go into a bye week where we got 2 weeks of having to deal with this crap. So I keep feeling like I'm over it and I don't have anything else to say about it. And I even text you guys earlier. It's like, I don't know if I've got any more takes about this. Every time I think about it, I get pissed off all over again. It's so frustrating that we're here again, because I was really hoping we were done with this crap.
The same things again. You remember what Brian Kelly rants? But no, Saturday was the kind of loss that frankly should piss people off. And it also should be a time where you start asking questions. Like we always do the joke about asking the tough questions. And I'm not like saying like, hey, people need to go in with their pitchforks, but I'm just saying when you get beat the way Arkansas got beat on Saturday, it's a very good time to look in the mirror and be like, holy cow, like what are we doing? Because we didn't expect that to happen. I would like to think the team didn't expect that to happen. People nationally didn't expect that to happen since they're marveling at the head coach. And also Arkansas was only a 7.5 point underdog in this game. And just like they were a 2.5 point underdog against LSU. So these two blowouts that have happened at home back to back, they kind of came out of nowhere. And when they happen in succession of each other, and particularly against a program that hired a head coach the same offseason you hired your head coach, and they've gone consistently up, it's a fair time to start asking some of these big picture questions and have these evaluations of really where this team and program is at. And frankly, we can have the conversation and we can come to the conclusion that everything's going to be fine. Like I'm willing to hear that case, but if we're not having these conversations after that type of performance and that type of showing, then we're just not being honest and we're not being real with ourselves and kind of what we expect and what we should be expecting from this program.
Yeah, and the optics of it just make it even worse, aside from the score, right? Because you had the weird comments before the game, the blue light special versus Louis Vuitton stuff, and then you had just, unfortunately, all appearances were that there was some quit on that football field in the second half of that game. Just everything that goes into it, man, is incredibly infuriating, and I feel bad. I really do for Razorback fans, because anyone who went to that game or traveled to go see that game or whatever, we drove back from Fort Worth. That way we could cover it. I wish we didn't do that. I wish we stayed. I wish we slept in and didn't put ourselves through that. It's ridiculous. It's not fair.
No, it's not. And I will be honest, there was a time after the game on Saturday where I almost challenged a man to a fight, like an actual duel, one for the ages, because I was so irate at the fact that he had the audacity, the unmitigated clamarity to try and say, NIL, Ole Miss they got better players, NIL. And I just wanted to slap somebody. Here's the thing. Every single loss and every single time that you go through anything in sports, especially when it comes to very important things like college football is to the Razorbacks and to the Arkansans here in the state, all of those things, you're always going to have people try to point to something because we want explanations for everything. And if you're you maybe more of a pessimistic person, you're just like, well, it's the coaching, so fire everybody. If you're more of an optimist, and be like, well, we just need a few more players here and there. We need a few more things. Everyone's going to have their own outlooks on this. But I cannot stress enough how there is zero anything outside of the football program, of those walls and inside of that stadium on Saturday, that there is zero that had to do with that game. Not NIL, not lack of facilities, not anything. The only thing that mattered was on that field. And I'm sorry, if you're good enough to go out and beat a Tennessee team, if you're good enough to go out and dominate a Mississippi State team, I know they suck, but you're good enough to go out and dominate them in their place, you have to be, and you should be, good enough to at least compete against a team like Ole Miss, an Ole Miss team that lost to Kentucky earlier this year, an Ole Miss team that has struggled at times against other teams, and in some cases, teams that are just as good as you, or maybe in some cases even worse than you, but it's just you. I have never seen anything in my life that is a step forward, 2 steps back than this program right now under Sam Pittman. It just is infuriating, the excuse making that is going on. And I'm with you guys about the lack of fire and passion and energy. I'm like, dude, you got fans in the stands that are leaving in droves and are pissed off, and everyone's mad about the way that things went. And then you're coming out here, it's just whatever. It's like, it bothers me. Everything about this bothers me. I don't want it changed. I want it all changed. I don't want to deal with this in the offseason. I don't want to deal with this lack of excitement. I don't want to have this team go to a bowl game, go to freaking Birmingham or Montgomery or Giddy City or wherever it's going to be. I don't want any of this. I'm to the point where I'm like, just get this over with, and whatever's going to happen, let's get going. Let's just figure something out, because I'm done with the way that things are going right now. I'm done with it.
Yeah, it's a shame, man, how one game can just change your trajectory of things so much, because even after the Mississippi State game, and it is what it is, with them being terrible or whatever, you could at least look at it and be like, there's a path to a pretty cool season here. They could get to a good bowl game. Like, maybe things are trending, whatever. But it's nuts. Just one performance, 60 minutes of football can just completely flip that around. Well, I feel the same way right now. I hope that I come around before they play Texas and I get excited for that and whatever they can do for the last 3 games of the season. But right now I'm kind of with you, John, where I'm like, dude, I don't even care. I don't care about it. So frustrating, because what would happen? Maybe they go out there and play great against Texas or whatever, and then they'll come out unprepared against Louisiana Tech or whatever. They'll get the hell beat out of them at Missouri or something. It's one step forward, 2 steps back, like you said. And there has to be some way on this planet to appease the football gods and change this cycle, because it's infuriating.
100%. And like, to be clear, them simply losing to Ole Miss is not what is getting this reaction. It's the way they lost, and it's the fact that the head coach himself and other people who work within the university are literally citing NIL as like the reason for the loss. Which, like, look, whether that's true or not, what are you saying about Arkansas as a program if you're just like, hey, yeah, I know this school in Mississippi that has fewer wins than Arkansas all time and shares their very low talent level state with another SEC school. We just simply can't compete with these cats. And it is what it is. That is true at the moment. And it just is crazy that it's like that we're supposed to just accept that and be like, okay, yeah, Arkansas just can't, I know they hired their head coach the exact same offseason, and that could have been your head coach. But I mean, you just can't compete with that guy. It's just really hard. And it really is. It's infuriating to have people who work for the university literally saying, Sam Pittman on TV talking about, they got the Louis V over there at Oxford, Mississippi. Like, it'd be one thing if you were playing even an A&M who has all this ag money, the state of Texas has football talent, all that. When you're saying you can't compete with Ole Miss, what does that say about, are you going to be able to compete with Texas? Are you even going to be able to compete with Missouri, who's been crushing it in the NIL department also? Like, are you just where are you accepting Arkansas's place among these competitors that they see every week? And to John's point, you beat some of them regularly. You competed with Ole Miss really well the last 4 years. Why is that? Why is NIL just now becoming a factor? And at the end of the day, NIL is something that is like a part of the game. Whether we like it or not, it is what it is. You don't get to say, hey, I'm an NFL team. Well, it's just the only reason we didn't win a Super Bowl. It's single elimination playoff format. That's just messed up. Like it's like, well, that's the rules we're working with. So it's like, if you don't like it, then I guess you should just quit.
Yeah, this NIL stuff, man, it's so stupid. It's so dumb. Like, yeah, you got to be like, here's my question. Okay, say if Arkansas did have that NIL, that Louis Vuitton or whatever that Ole Miss had. Okay, so you're telling me that if you would have had 2 better defensive players and 2 better offensive players on this Razorback team, that you wouldn't have the result that you had on Saturday? You're telling me that if you just had a few more better players, that it would have made the difference on Saturday? Because it wouldn't have. It wouldn't have. Talent was not the reason why you got your rear ends handed to you there in Fayetteville. Talent was not the problem. The problem is what it's always been, is that you have a coaching staff that is completely and totally ill-prepared for the most random of times. We don't know why. Why are you so unprepared coming out of a bye week against LSU? Why? Why are you so unprepared when you're going up against a team at home? That's a huge game. Why? None of it makes sense. And it's the inconsistency. It's this roller coaster and this is where the emotion comes in, where it's all left, right, up, and down. It reminds me of that Family Guy episode where the doctor, where he's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. They're like, what happened? My kid drew this elephant. It looks like crap. It's like, you think that it's all great 1 second, and then it's taken away. And then you think it's awful 1 second, then they redeem themselves. This emotional roller coaster that it's putting fans through. That's, I think, another reason why people are really fed up and wanting to give up. They're like, we're tired of going through the emotional highs and lows. It's exhausting, because that's the word that comes up to me every single time I think of this football team and this football program right now. They are exhausting. You exhaust me. You exhaust my efforts. You exhaust my mental capacity. You exhaust my passion. You exhaust me in every way, and I'm tired. I'm worn out. I just let me do something else. And that's I feel like how a lot of Razorback fans, they're just exhausted from this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't blame them. And you're not making any grand proclamations or assumptions or your own observations there. Sam Pittman said it after the game when he was asked what he told the team afterwards. He said, well, we were outplayed, outcoached, out physical. How many times is it just acceptable to hear that? And Andrew, I know you tweeted out yesterday about especially the outcoach part. How many times does the head coach get to say we got outcoached before we realize that it's just not okay? It's unbelievable to me. And also, I just don't know. I'm never going to be able to wrap my head around how you can go from the performance against Mississippi State, they suck, whatever, to having a game at home where you have the opportunity to clinch bowl eligibility and get into the top 25 of the polls in the first time since God knows when. And you just come out and not only lay an egg, you quit out there. I mean, it's the shit we saw against Auburn last year and against Missouri last year. And when they completely let go of the rope with Chad Morris, how do you get there in 1 week? Like, what the heck happened in practice? Like, what's really going on? Or was it just, they were just getting their ass kicked that bad that they were like, whatever, let's just get this over. I mean, what happened? I just would really like to know how we go from one extreme to another so quickly. It doesn't make any sense because you watch them certain weeks and you go, man, this team is fun. Yeah, it seems like they really are all in it together. Oh yeah, maybe they could do something cool. And then you have something like this where you go, huh? It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, that's a great point. And to your point, the head coach said it was one of their best weeks of practice of all time. Like, he thought it was an awesome, everything was trending in the right direction. Like, they were super prepared, super ready to play this game, according to him. So according to him, it's like this performance, it's, and Ole Miss had 3 of their top players out. Like, that's where it's like, look, we can do the whole talent and NIL, all that stuff. It's just dishonest. It just is. Because those factors are still the same against a lot of these other teams. And I don't know, man. It doesn't feel like the head coach goes out and says himself, they're telling you what they feel like the expectation in the program should be at. And when you have people that are kind of just accepting of where it's at, okay, look, we can always, I'm 26 years old, about to turn 27. Arkansas has only been good at football in like 4 or 5 of my years on this earth. Maybe 6 or 7, depending on where you put the bar. So I think, look, if we want to just come to the conclusion that Arkansas football is never going to be higher than a 6-6, 7-5 program regularly, like, okay, we can make that argument. But I know there's a lot of fans who don't feel that way and don't feel like that should be where like the bar is set for this program. And so I think there just needs to be a little bit more clarity between the university and this fans of what is really capable. This football program is really capable of. And it just is hard for me to believe that they're only capable of what we're seeing now. When you look and you see John Calipari getting it done in the NIL department, getting the best roster he can on campus. You see the baseball program nationally relevant every year, soccer, track, like all these other coaches have circumvented all these new NIL issues and all these talent discrepancy. Oh, the state doesn't have talent. They're somehow able to field nationally relevant teams year in, year out. And I think we just have to be honest about, can Arkansas football do that? And if you think they can, then I don't know how you can justify being like, yeah, everything's fine, let's just keep everything the same.
Yeah, you can't do it. You absolutely can't do it. And it's just the embarrassing element to it, because we'll get to your phone calls, folks, I know, because we got them lining up pretty heavily. But it's about the embarrassment that you had on Saturday. If Arkansas would have lost to Ole Miss, I mean, shoot, we all picked them to lose to Ole Miss. Like, we all picked them in our Inside Arkansas predictions. I think most people felt that way. Bet Saracen and the lines, if they felt that way. So it's not like this is some sort of shock. If they would have lost the game, just score 28-14 or something like that. I mean, nobody would have felt great, but it would have been like, But it's the embarrassment. Like, the game was over in what felt like 5 minutes. The game was over. And if you say, Sam Pittman, that you had your best week of practice or you felt like everything's great, okay, so then what the crap happened? Then what happened? Is your team that mentally soft where one thing goes wrong and then they just crumble? Is it as simple as that? Did somebody say something in the locker room before the game? Like, you can't say it was a great week of practice, we did all these good things, and then not be able to identify where and how it went wrong. That's troubling to me. You're the head coach, man. That you got to know your team. And if it's something like that where everything feels good and then suddenly it doesn't, you need to be able to identify exactly what happened. And I don't know if he can. I don't think he does. I don't think he has a clue. Just to be honest, I don't think he knows.
It's also pretty alarming that you're going into a bye week now, and kind of what he said was you can look at it one of two ways. Either you want to get right back out there and just kind of get that sour taste out of your mouth, or you feel like you need the bye week because you need more than 1 week to figure things out. And that's where he feels like they're at. Like that's very alarming to me that that's the case. And then like the conversation about, having to go back and look at the tape to see if they were giving some things away defensively, because it wasn't like Ole Miss's tempo was getting them. Kiffin was just getting up to the line, check on check. And then he was winning that chess match every single play. And Kiffin even talked about it after the game. He was like, yeah, I mean, we were able to just kind of scheme up anything we wanted to there. And, we had Watkins and we would just move him around the field, pick whichever matchup we liked. And we were hitting it every time. And it's just, I get it. Like, he's really good at coaching offense or whatever, but my goodness, man, this is not a Division II coaching staff here. Like we've seen, and we were talking about Travis Williams for head coach, a few weeks ago. Again, I go back to my question, and this is the further along we get, or the further away we get from this game, the more that what's sticking in my head is how the hell did we get here from where we were this time a week ago? I don't understand.
I think you both bring up a good point in that the good coaches, like the best of the best in sports, know what's going on. They know what to expect. They know where they have deficiencies. They know where they have strengths. They kind of know how these matchups are going to play out. And obviously you're trying to do everything you can to, if you think you're negative here, you're trying to circumvent that and all that. I get all that. Sam Pittman for sure does not know he doesn't know how his team is going to play on a given Saturday. He has no clue. Because he's admitted to that on both ends as well, of like, oh man, like we were kind of pleasantly surprised by this, or man, we had no idea this stinker was coming. It does seem like it's just, again, like they don't really, you said they don't have a clue, John. When you have a loss like this, I feel like that curiosity should really be at an all-time high. Like I would have honestly it been okay if Pittman had gone to the press conference and been like openly perplexed of like, man, we really saw the game playing out this way. This didn't happen. We need to figure out why it didn't happen. He didn't really have any say anything about, oh, we thought we were going to be able to do this. We thought we were going to be able to do that. I think I always say that word acceptance. I've said it a lot in the last 3 days. There just seemed to be like a little bit of, okay, that makes sense aspect to Arkansas getting beat by 32 at home. From Sam Pittman, from other observers who were like, well, of course they gave up 63 to a team that hadn't given up or hadn't scored 30 all year. Yeah, that just makes sense. Like it almost seemed like it made sense in Sam Pittman's head that they got beat the way that they did. And that alone is concerning as well.
Everything's concerning. Everything's off the table. I know that, again, we got a lot to talk about today, and we got a lot of reactions to get to. Phone lines are lighting up, so we'll try to work through some of these as quickly as possible. Let's go ahead and start off with, how about this? This has been a while. Nobody from Nowhere, one of the old buzz callers back in the day. What's up, Nobody?
What's crack-a-lagging, y'all? Man, I feel like I watched a hate crime on Saturday. They just kept beating on us like it was beyond personal. And then Sam Pittman goes into his post-game interview and looks like a battered spouse. I mean, the program itself just does not provide any kind of confidence and enthusiasm that we are running down the right path. My question becomes, if NIL is the problem, okay, is NIL the problem because the fan base itself doesn't believe in the program anymore, and we've all become apathetic from the beat down since we fired Houston Nutt? Like, we have some good years, but then all of a sudden avalanche hits and we are nothing for the next 3 seasons. And it's one thing to have a down year and rebuild and then be a 7-win team, but man, we're struggling to win 2 and 3 games a year in the SEC every year for 3 coaches. Not just one, fluke here and there. Oh, we just had a bad year. No, we are struggling to be competitive in any capacity. And the apathy, in my opinion, is really set in. And I say that because I go watch videos of you guys after shows, and the basketball will just get thousands of views. Everybody's excited, wants to see it. Y'all put out a video about football and nobody's watching it. And that lets you know the interest is on.
Yeah, very much not lost on us.
If people keep buying, if people keep giving money to NIL, if people keep going to the games, you're going to get the same thing repeated next coach. If we're like basketball and we have some people, some real interest, some people really throw money at bringing in a real coach, you might see some turnaround. But I can say that money is the driving reason why everything is the way it is. And there has been no demand from the consumer with their wallet to make a change yet. But that day's coming. And I say it's coming because of the views I see everybody getting and the clicks everybody's getting. Eventually, just like what John was saying, I'm done with it. And you're done with it because we're done with it. Like you're talking to the wall at this point. There's 150 of us left that are still engaged and interested, but the rest of the state is like, I'm done. I'm out. Keep banging for more money, but I ain't giving it. So, gentlemen, I thank you so much for providing us a platform for people who still care.
Hey, appreciate you, nobody from nowhere. It's good to hear from you, man.
Good caller.
Yeah, very good
great.
call. Yeah.
I think I just watched a hate crime on Saturday. Like for some reason that line just really got me, dude. I could not stop laughing at that.
It's pretty fitting, to be honest, and just the way things went, because that's what it felt like to a lot of Razorback fans. And it's the thing is, like, he's talking about the interest in what is with Razorback football. Like, we've all been in this business a long time. We know where things get noticed and where people's passions are and how people get excited about it. And if you don't have excitement, you don't have people willing to pay. And it goes to everything. Also, too, just to throw this in here as far as the home fields and all that, I just feel bad for the people. I mean, it's not cheap to go to a Razorback football game, like, for a weekend if you're not living in the Northwest Arkansas area. Like, I don't want to be that guy, but it's true. It's like, got to pay for a place to stay. You got to pay for parking. You got to pay for the tickets. You got to pay for, the overpriced concession stands that I guess got raised a little bit to help out the whatever. So it's not cheap. And so when people do all of that and they show up and they sit down at 11 a.m., all right, let's go. 20 minutes later, they're like, I want to die. I mean, that's just not a very sustainable thing for fans, at least. All right, let's see. Keep it going. A lot of people going. All right, let's go to Gavin, who's in Little Rock. What's up, Gavin?
Hey, John. So I have a question. Why does it seem like success has been an issue, consistent success has been an issue for Sam Pittman's teams?
I mean, that is the ultimate question of, like, I wish I knew, because I think a lot of it has to go with just being the consistency of a coach. If you have a demand that is extremely high and you're consistent with that demand, people talk about, I know Nick Saban's the gold standard, but the thing about Nick Saban is you think about how pissed off he would get on the sidelines when his team's up 50 late in the fourth quarter and the third string quarterback missed his read. It's like, because there's just an expectation that's there and it's consistent. And I just don't know that I'm not in the locker room, I don't know, but just basing off the results on the field, I don't think there's a consistent expectation and a consistent message that's being communicated day in, day out, every meeting, across the coaching staff, across everybody, because that's the type of thing that really shows that there's a lack of something going on there.
All right. Thank you, John.
All right. Appreciate it, Gavin.
I love
Thanks for calling in.
There. Just right to it. Like, why are we not having consistent success?
Yeah. I mean, it is the ultimate question. Yeah. Those are always my favorite callers, too, when I was on the buzz. I knew, like, when they call in, they're going to be like, here's what I have to say. I'm done. I'm like, okay, good. Message received. Appreciate you. Man, we got a few new callers calling in. This is good stuff. How about good friend, an old residential caller, too, Wally from Bentonville. What's up, Wally?
Hey, John. Yeah, we go way back together, and just wanted to piggyback on some of the stuff you guys are saying. A lot of this downhill slide really started at the end of 2022, continued into last year, right? End of 2022, we got rid of some bad apples. We got a new offensive coach, blah, blah, blah. Got some new players, but what happened? awful last year. This year, same thing, turned over some players, all of this, blah, blah, blah. And we're still seeing a lot of the same things that we saw at the end of 22, all of 23, and now 2024. And I feel like you guys and a lot of these shows are wasting a lot of time because you can't say what you really want to say. There's one constant through 2022, 2023, and 2024. There's one coach that you can say has been the constant through all of the drama that we've had the last 3 years and all of the failures.
Scott Fountain.
And Occam's razor, yeah. Well, don't get me started on him. Occam's razor says sometimes the simplest explanation is the right explanation. So we know what that is. I know what you guys can't say it just absolutely. The fans know it, though, and I think the players know it. You just talked about, John, a consistent message. In corporate life, in big organizations, that is leadership. It comes from the top down. The CEO sets the expectations, and when they're not lived up to, there's consequences. The good organizations that succeed stick to that. The ones that fail, you can typically look at, they had poor leadership. It wasn't that they had a poor product. It's that they had poor leadership to execute whatever their vision might be. So when the team looks confused, when they look like they're unprepared, when it looks like they've given up, when it looks like they fold the first time they get hit in the mouth, that comes from leadership. It comes from the top. The head coach, do they not set the mental attitude usually in football? When you see teams succeeding, when you see teams overachieving, it's usually because of the attitude and the mindset the coach has set. Look at Indiana and Kurt Signetti. The guy came in and said, Google me, I win. And that gave a lot of their players, even though they brought some new ones in, a positive mindset. He didn't make excuses, and all they've done is gone 9-0. Look at Vanderbilt. They brought in a kid. You know, Clark Lee's probably got a pretty good mindset, but they brought in a kid with a winning mindset. You can say, Diego Pavia, he ain't the tallest guy, he ain't the fastest, but he's probably the toughest and the cockiest. And so BP brought in a kid who fit his mold physically, but maybe not mentally. That's leadership as well, because the on-field leadership usually starts with the quarterback. And, you know, think about this rotating captains thing. If you got 37 captains, you have no captains. And whose idea was that? Sam Pittman. This isn't because Arkansas can only be this or that. We know we can be good. We've got great facilities, better than Ole Miss, better than Mississippi State, on par with, say, an Auburn probably even, that dump of a cow town. But we don't have good leadership to execute that, and it's not going to change. You guys are wasting your time trying to dissect this game or that. We know what the problem is. You know what the problem is. It's time to just say it. It is time to just say it. And if we don't have better expectations, they're never going to get mad. Clemson fired Tommy Bowden. He was like 9-4 every year, which we would die for, which is great record at Arkansas. They said that's all he's ever going to be at his best. That's what we've got to finally do. And so the leadership above Sam, Hunter Kasicek, he's got to do it too. And he's got to show some real leadership instead of panhandling on every corner. Thanks, John.
All right. Appreciate it, Wally.
Hunter Kasicek. I tell you what, we've had some good callers with some good stuff there, but the one-liners, the zingers that are getting thrown out here have been pretty solid. Good work, everyone. Yeah.
I love it. I want to like, that's what's, again, good to hear from some of the guys that used to call in on my old radio show too. But that's the thing that they you know, they save their moments for the best, and the best calls that's there too. A few more phone calls here. We'll get to your chats too, folks, because I know we got some other segments we're going to get into. But I think it's important, very important, to hear from Jan, who of course is in Wichita. Good afternoon, Jan. How are you?
Hello, most courageous gentleman in Arkansas. I'm just calling to thank you for your courage of coming on there all the time and supporting a team that has severely destroyed our confidence made me totally depressed. I'm old enough to remember Arkansas playing Texas in the old Southwest Conference when I was a child, and how excited we would get. We'd have people over to the house, and it was an exciting event. I don't even know if I'm going to bring myself to be able to watch that game. That's where I'm at. So thank you guys for being courageous. And did I miss it yesterday, or did we not have our Razorback devotional, which I sorely need?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I was feeling under the weather yesterday. I was not able to provide the good word. I really apologize, but it'll be back during the bye week, though, next Sunday. I promise.
Well, I need it. And thank you guys for doing what you do. It takes a lot of courage.
Well, thank you, Jan, and thank you for supporting us and listening to us. We really appreciate it. Have a good one.
Always thought of us as pretty courageous. So
The bravest men,
Listen,
honestly.
that makes me sad, though. I want Jan to get excited and watch the Texas game.
It breaks my heart, man. It really does. Like, that's when you know the end is near. Is when Jan has lost faith and confidence in you. That's whenever I can't imagine being in that position. If I found out that Jan didn't believe in me, it would make me reevaluate everything in my life. And I feel like this football program probably needs to do the same.
Well, you honestly, I hate to be this way, but it's true. The only way that people are going to get excited about that Arkansas-Texas game is if Sam Pittman gets fired and Bobby Petrino takes over as the head coach. That'll be the only thing that'll get fans like actually
fire if that happens.
Oh man, yeah.
That would be the first time an athletic director caved to like the internet.
Yep. Well, second time because you did have
the only time, but like that would be one of the most egregious examples of just caving to the trolls.
Yes, yeah, for sure. But it's just to be honest, just because where everything's at, that would be the only way people will be excited pretty consistently, at least. We'll get to more of your phone calls too. Did want to give a shout out to some of our people here in the chat. We appreciate it. Of course, here comes Witty. Appreciate your super chat. He says, "I'll never leave y'all, no matter how bad we suck. I have abandonment issues." Thanks, Witty. I think.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Witty.
Yeah,
we appreciate you, and honestly, we'd be pretty disappointed if you dipped on us too.
Yeah, we would. We would be.
We
very
have the same abandonment issues. Like, so if you left, it would be the same effect.
Yeah, I've always needed somebody to talk to me with an artificial intelligent image in their profile picture every day. So, thank you.
I love that one, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Julian works sometimes.
Good. Yeah, it's pretty good stuff there too. Let's see. Also, let's see. Where's it at? If we were just, I had one started, but I'm not going to get to that one because it's irrelevant. But Mike says, don't you think it's an odd coincidence that almost a week after Washington and Gums get kicked off the team, they play like this? Just saying. I saw people trying to bring that up too.
I don't think it's related, but that thought did cross my mind. I guess it was yesterday in the afternoon where I was like, I wonder if, but it did cross my mind. I'm not going to lie.
Well, it is interesting because the Gums thing happened before the Mississippi State game.
Yeah.
So there was already kind of like a little bit of that narrative about to go out there going into Mississippi State. Then obviously they took care of business against a really bad team. And so I was like, okay, didn't crush the team to that level. And then the Ty Washington thing happens, I guess that Sunday or Monday. I feel like it can't be just an A plus B equals C type of thing. I feel like it's there's probably a few more variables in there, but I'm sure it didn't help.
Yeah.
No, it didn't help at all. Also, Razorback ZJ. Can we talk about the stadium emptying out in mid-second quarter? What do you think it'll look like for Texas? LOL. Well, what do you want to talk about? Like people, that's what happens when you get smoked in a game. That fans showed up at butt crack of dawn trying to see this game, and then when they get their taints handed to them, they're like, well, I've seen enough of this hate crime, as was put by our previous caller. I think I'm going to go do something better with my life. That's what happens.
I wanted to ask you about just the like the pregame vibes, because I know you were out and about before the game, the tailgate and everything. And then I was going to ask like how quickly it started to empty out. Like was the atmosphere jacked, and then how quick was it not?
I'll be honest, like the atmosphere was it wasn't bad at all, especially at the start. It was actually pretty good, all things considered, because people were thinking it was going to rain a little bit, and it didn't. People were, it's 11 a.m., not really feeling it, but I'd say it would be about as good as you could ask. But man, as soon, like the highest it got was when they stopped him on 4th down and goal. Yeah, right there. But the time that when it got to be, I guess it was at 14-0, Forgot I couldn't remember if Arkansas
14-3.
Yeah, as soon as it was 14-3, and then everybody kind of felt like, oh no, we've seen this before, and then that's when it all went badly. So I'd say I'd give it about the first 7 minutes of the game. People felt somewhat kind of interested.
Were there any
it didn't take long.
bluebirds?
No, because that's again goes back to how nobody cared.
I gotcha.
It was like, oh yeah, this I've seen this movie before. I'll go watch something else.
It wouldn't have been loud enough to be heard, really, because there wasn't that many people there. It's really hard to have a good day when it's super gray outside, just dark gray.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's always a bad omen.
Yeah, it was just it went badly very quickly. But
I felt like you guys seen that movie, The Mist?
yes,
I feel like that's what me and Andrew were driving back through. Like we were driving to Fort Worth in, and then driving back to Fayetteville through. It was crazy, man.
Well, there was like a random little pocket of intense fog that I slowed down and was like, oh wow, like, I don't know what's happening. Then it ended like 100 feet later. It was the weirdest thing.
It was an omen.
Yeah, we should have known there in the beginning. Shout out Timothy Long. Good to see you, Timothy. Says the Hunter Cash a check was epic by Wally. Great quote. Glad you're good, John. Watched Locked On, felt better. Love the content, guys. Whoop big Zooey.
Timothy Long asked about you on the post game Saturday, by the way.
Thanks, Timothy. Well, I'm good, Timothy, but thank you. I appreciate you checking up on me. I'm glad somebody did. But yes, we appreciate it as always. Also, shout out Carlton Safa from Bet Saracen says, if only we had a pile of NIL cash. Yeah.
Well, we wanted to do the 50-50, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, listen, Carlson, we all know about that 50-50 deal. We know how great it would be and all that. But like was said before, Carlton, Bet Saracen then the Saracen Casino could have thrown in $30 million into NIL, and I don't know if that would have made a difference on Saturday. I'm just going to be honest. I don't think that would have made a difference.
Don't worry. Once the rest of the SEC is doing that and has moved on to the next best thing, they'll get you taken care of.
Yep. Yeah, 20 years from now probably, because that's what we like to do is live in the past. Also, I'm going to bring up, I don't know which one y'all started this, but shout out to Daniel Shee. He says, I know we make fun of Brian Kelly for doing the press stunts, but I think fans would have appreciated if there was some passion from Sam in his post game.
Yeah,
100%.
Okay, someone. So I tweeted the thing about Sam Pittman and like, oh, how can you go to the presser and say you got outcoached 4 times a year? And someone was like, would you rather him fake anger like Brian
Yes.
Kelly? And I was like, why does it have to be fake anger? They lost
exactly
31. He should be actually angry. Now, does Brian Kelly play it up a little bit? 100%. But they lost a game they shouldn't have lost in week 1. He went out there and got really upset about it. I'm not saying it's a direct correlation, but his team rattled off like 7 straight wins and is in the playoff contention. Even still, you know what I mean? It's like Brian Kelly produces consistent results. I understand Brian Kelly's a little bit of a weirdo, and we make fun of him on the show all the time. But I think there's definitely something to coaches holding their teams accountable and holding them to a very high standard, especially if you're going to do the whole standards, not starters thing all offseason. I think there's something to that. Some of the most intense coaches, the disciplinarians, like especially in football, when you've got 100 people that need to all be in sync, the assholes usually rise to the top in this sport. Like it just is what it is. I'm sorry.
I think that is how the adage goes.
That's how I've always said it for sure. And there was a brief moment. It was right after Pittman said the thing, and they got taken wildly out of context about winning a game and making a bowl and holding your head high or whatever. It got put out there out of context based on what he actually said. But at any rate, after that, he said something along the lines of he was telling the guys like, we got to have all 80 of you. We can't have some of you. And something about if you don't fight now, you won't fight in life. But if you do fight now, you will fight the rest of your life. It was really weird. But I think that was like his attempt of telling the guys that they have to play harder or something. But it's not enough, man.
That's something you say to it when you have a room full of future insurance salesmen. That's what you say.
Yeah, bro. I mean, come on.
Get that promotion at freaking Lindsay Realty. If you don't fight now. The rest of these coaches are talking to future NFL players. You don't have to convince them to fight. They're freaking trying to play in the NFL.
It sounded like one of these political rallies, man. Fight now, you'll never fight the rest of your life. What are we doing, man?
Oh, some of you gonna go pro in something other than sports, and that's okay. But you got to fight.
The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra.
Just a little bit extra.
Yeah, all that crap. A lot of phone calls coming in, folks. Yeah, we're going to try to work through those, so appreciate y'all's patience on this. Let's talk to, I believe he's going by Anonymous, but we'll roll with it. He's from out of Harrison. What's up, Anonymous from Harrison, maybe?
How are y'all doing?
Doing great, man. How about yourself?
Yeah, doing all right. I'm actually a student, so we're gonna get we're on tornado watch right now, or tornado.
Hey, same here. We're in Fayetteville too. Yeah, we're nadir warning bros.
So hopefully you don't get hit by anything, knock on wood. But I just want to mention a couple things, kind of giving a student perspective on what's going on. To be honest, for the Ole Miss game, I left at halftime because I knew where it was going to go after we got dumped on about 20-something points before half, 30, 35, I believe. Yeah, I don't know. It's just at that point, I just kind of gave up and said to my friends, we decided to just go back to our apartment and watch the rest at our apartment. And it just became one of those things where it was just kind of took the wind out of our sails. And so kind of it's one of those things where it's sure, we can make a 6-6 season, but I know it's I'm not really wanting that to happen. I just want to have more success. Maybe we can beat Texas, maybe we can beat Missouri. I know Louisiana Tech's kind of on the table, in terms of a win, but it's I just want more success than just the bare minimum. And that kind of leads into my next point, which is I know we keep talking about head coaches or whether Pittman's going to retire or whatever. And it's whether we get a Petrino or a T-Will or somebody else, what that's going to create is that in the long term, going into next year, our non-conference schedule doesn't really give us much leeway to really adapt and be able to generate success, or be able to guarantee success, because we got Alabama and E&M, that's kind of a guarantee win. Arkansas State, if we're in the middle of a rebuild and we get a John L. Smith, we get a Chad Morris or something, in terms of performance, and plus you got Memphis at Memphis, and then Notre Dame Fighting Irish coming to town. And those teams are going to be very competitive. So we can't really, in my opinion, it's just going to be balancing whether we want stability or we want to take a chance on a new coach. And so and plus the SEC is not going to help either, but I'm kind of thinking about the long term. And so, again, it's just one of those things where, I want things to change, but at the moment, it may be better just to focus on stability. That's just my opinion, but I'll let you get to the rest of these phone calls. Thanks so much.
All right. Appreciate it, Anonymous. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, I think that's kind of where it goes to about excitement and energy, which Arkansas doesn't really have right now in football. But let's just be realistic about it. If Arkansas beats Louisiana Tech, we're 6-6, best case scenario at this point, 7-5. If you find some way to beat Texas or Missouri, which does not look likely, but if you did, it's about the excitement and energy, and there's not going to be a whole lot of that at the end of the season. There's not going to be a whole lot of that during the transfer portal signings and early signing periods, and there ain't going to be any excitement going into next season. Just the energy is going to be so low, it's not even worth doing. But yeah, you're as a student perspective, as fans perspective, and all of that, totally understand it and feel it too. Imagine being a student at the University of Arkansas and this is all you got. It's all you got to witness. It's this crap football.
It's tough,
be rough.
Mm-hmm. At least they had a cool moment last month.
They did. That
well,
one
dude,
time.
People are going to the games. It's over 70,000 every week. And I wasn't at this one. I don't know if this Ole Miss crowd was on par with the LSU or Tennessee crowds or not. But I mean, at least in terms of tickets sold, they're still raking it in. And so I think it's, if you're making a case for stability, and which Hunter Yurachek, I'm sure this is the kind of thing he's thinking about. It's I see that point of view, but I agree with you, John, where there's not going to be any excitement. But at the same time, we were probably saying that last year too. And so they somehow were able to pull it off where they had fans show up to these games. I don't know. It's a little bit of a tough one.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Okay, just a few more calls, folks. I know, again, we got them lining up, but we're trying to get to everybody. So it makes it a little bit difficult sometimes. But I believe this is Brandon, just in Arkansas, maybe Texarkana. What's up, Brandon?
Oh, yeah, yes. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, man.
Can you hear? Hey, man. I was just calling because I've been watching for a while. So, I'm just a big fan of y'all. So I just want to call and ask a question. It's just I've been a Razorback since I was born. My whole family, we've been going to Razorback games for 20 years, even once a Little Rock. when back then when Darren Fadden and Ryan Mallett and all them were playing. But the question is really just how can we get a coach or like a culture just to change where, like how Ole Miss figuring out how to win games and the culture they got like other schools. It just pisses me off because like how we can't be like this? Because we got the money and the sources and like Fayetteville is a good place to live in, but why we can't just like find somebody, change the cultures, and not even get the best player, but get players that got that dog mentality to win games and get stuff for the fans,
Yeah.
That's all I got to say. It is
hard. Yeah, we appreciate the phone call, man. Absolutely. I think that's what Razorback fans kind of feel in general, guys, is, I mean, why can't they? There's no reason for them to not be at least competitive and not – it's about getting the right person in place and the right coaches.
Yeah, and it's particularly frustrating when this happened last weekend and it was the coach you could have had or the coach you thought you had who did it to you.
Yep.
And now he's trolling you on social media. It's tough, man.
Well, look, if we're going to offer a silver lining here from this illustrious Pittman era, Arkansas is undoubtedly in a better position to hire a competent head coach now than they were in 2019 when they hired Sam Pittman. The evidence for that is they hired Sam Pittman, which, like, look, I'm not trying to dog on Pittman. I'm just saying, like, at that point in time, he was not a candidate for any head coaching job in the country. Arkansas got him because they got told no by other people. Like, I'm not saying that, again, I'm not saying that as a knock. It's objectively what happened. I don't think they will have to hire a first-time head coach and a guy who's never really, never even been a coordinator. Like, they're not going to hire that level of candidate again this offseason or next offseason or whenever it is. Arkansas is undoubtedly in a better position to hire someone like a Rhett Lashley or a Coach Sig or like a whoever, a legitimate head coach, candidate that's going to get offered by other schools. They're in a much better position to get someone like that. Now, at the same time, like, I feel like they probably could have gotten Lane Kiffin the last go around, but I definitely just think, like we always do the basketball example, I think Arkansas, Sam Pittman could just be Arkansas's Mike Anderson.
Might be. I mean, the way things have gone, it might be the case. And especially with like, you're talking about, coaches and hires. What, Pittman also got hired pre-NIL era. And now that the NIL era is here, how do you lure coaches with NIL? So let's be honest. Calipari, I don't care how good of friends he is with John Tyson. You think Calipari was going to come to Arkansas unless he had some assurances on what he was going to be dealing with in the NIL? So if Arkansas is looking for a new coach, guess what? The coaches that say are established or, well, people are like, okay, I'll be interested, but what's my NIL look like? What am I going to be dealing with? And Arkansas's got to be able to come with something there. And if they do, you'll be able to allure a lot more coaches. But if you can't, may end up with another position coach as a head coach at this rate. So yeah, it's the frustrating thing about it. All right, final call here because I know we got to move on again. I apologize not getting to everybody, but we tried our best. There's just so much. You guys are so pissed off. It's hard to do it all at once. Pooh Bear, what's up, Pooh Bear?
Hey guys, I just want to start out and say, thoughts and prayers for everyone in Oklahoma, for all them tornadoes and stuff, man. That's never a good situation. And thoughts for everybody in Northwest Arkansas. Hopefully y'all stay safe, man. Especially the night tornadoes. That's never a good situation.
Scary stuff.
Yeah, it is.
But where do I even start? Where do I even start, guys? Like, do I bring up the quarterback situation?
No.
I don't think that's where we're at anymore. To be honest, I don't. I genuinely. I called in a couple weeks ago talking about, how Sam Pittman doesn't have passion. He's, I want to see Pittman punching tables, but see now what I want to do is I want to challenge a couple players in this very moment. They're probably not going to hear me say this, but hopefully so. Hopefully, Jackson Dart, man, let's look at that first possession on that goal line stand. When he got to that sideline, he sat down and then he couldn't sit still. He's barking at everyone that walks past him. It don't matter if it's a trainer, he's barking at them. They're on the road on an SEC game. This is a big deal. I would love to see that from Taylor. We were sold that he's a major leader at the beginning of the year. I would love to see him get onto people. Maybe not to that extreme because I do believe he was cussing at certain players, some people handle that. Let's not have a complete meltdown now. I just want to see him, be a leader, like physically on the screen in those big moments. I want to challenge Sorey. Pooh Paul was in that fourth quarter, they were up, 90-0, and he's in Rodney Hill's face telling him to meet him in the hole. He said, where I'm going to be? I'm going to be right here. I want to see that. I want to see these, I want to see passion, whether it's from the coaches. I want to see it from someone. I don't care if it's the punter at this point. Like, I want to see someone that wears that Arkansas jersey that says, hey, I'm here. I'm glad to be here. I don't care what that score says. I don't care that the half the stadium left. That doesn't mean nothing. I'm here, and I'm going to do this for the fans that are really here, that really care. And Andrew, you say this all the time. I want to play like people in the stands are seeing me for the first time. That hits home. Like, I love that. I want to see that. And so I just, man, I want to challenge the AD. I don't know his name, but people are saying, oh, he didn't hire Calipari. John Tyson did that. I want him to go out, whether it's this year or next year. I want him to really analyze this situation. Is it better to fire Pittman this year and hire whoever is available? If that's the case, they're going, or is it better to wait until next year, when we're on the road at, LSU, at Texas, all these, our schedule is completely different next year. Is it better to wait until next year to have a better availability, or do we go scoop up Mike Norvell because he's having an off season, and it might be they're trying to push him out the door. It's just so hard to kind of really put your finger on it. So, I mean, I just would like to challenge, those couple people to really step up, man, because the state needs them, man. Football is a big deal, man. So I appreciate y'all's time, man. Y'all have a blessed day and stay away from that bad weather, guys.
All right. Appreciate it, Pooh Bear.
Man, I thought we were going to have to argue with him about benching Taylon Green or something, but he stayed away from it. I will say the most irritating part of what happened Saturday for me was just what seemed like the acceptance of getting punked like that on your home field. And they were taunting you. They were rubbing it in. The hottie toddy chant was like never ending. They're dunking on basketball hoops. They got the damn fog machine out there. And they just kind of accepted it. So that was irritating. And I appreciated that from Jackson Dart, like after that first goal line stand for Arkansas, where he was going nuts. Even later in the game, when they ran the offense back out there, they got the delay of game penalty, and he was pissed about that, and he was teeing off about it. The dude was absolutely dialed. And so I would have liked to have seen somebody, kind of match that energy on the other end of the field, because sometimes that's kind of what it takes. And I understand everybody's built differently with different personalities, whatever, but they had fire in a game where they were up by 5 touchdowns. And it looked like Arkansas was missing some of that pride that would have kept you from getting in that point in the first place. And then with the whole, do we do it now? Do we wait until next year and see if we can have it? Why prolong the inevitable when you're already doing that? Like, that's what this entire year has been, is prolonging the inevitable. It's going to happen. It's coming. So why do we continue to wait?
Yeah. I was thinking about it when he was going through, challenging, saying he wanted, different guys to show emotion and all that. I was thinking all year, the only example I can think of any Arkansas player really having a moment like that where they got in someone's face was when Andrew Armstrong had to be separated from Keyshawn Blackstock during that A&M game, whenever he got so pissed off at him, which, obviously Keyshawn Blackstock ended up getting benched a couple games later. But it's just like, there's really not much of that going on. Really, and I think back to the spring, the only time I ever really saw it get chippy in the spring was when they started fighting each other. There was one practice where I was walking out, and as I was walking out,
Blackstock was involved in, but yeah.
I think he was. It was Blackstock, and it was some DB.
It was Brad.
Okay. Spence, yeah. But yeah, how about that? I didn't even think about that. But yeah, I think it really, it's not, and I don't know if it's as simple as like, hey, they don't have enough passion in the program or whatever. I don't know if that starts at the top with the coaching staff, but it does kind of feel like just a group of guys who happen to be at Arkansas. It doesn't seem like there's that many people on the team who like really, really love being Arkansas Razorbacks, which look is far from the reason why this team is underwhelming. Like, there's a lot of reasons, but in moments like Saturday, that's the kind of stuff you think about where you're like, damn, does it really, like, does this game have any effect on these people? Does it affect them that Arkansas football got waxed? Whereas like there's been a lot of players over the years where we know for a fact it bothered them and rubbed them the wrong way when Arkansas would get blown out.
Yeah, and that's what it should bother everybody. Like, when was the last fiery coach that Arkansas's had? I mean, I guess Petrino was fiery, but he wasn't like fiery in the media or anything like that normally. I mean, Bielema would be snarky. I would never call him fiery. He's more snarky with the media, snarky in those instances. Morris was just an idiot. So, yeah, I kind of miss having a coach that would get pissed in a situation like this. You know, what's it going to hurt? So what you going to lose to Ole Miss? You know, like by getting pissed off? That's all I'm asking for. So
we're not asking you to keep your composure. Honestly, we're really not.
Yeah. We're asking you actually to lose it a little bit and go a little psychopath. All the great coaches do at some point in time, or at least a few of them do. So, all right, we'll segue for our Arkansas question of the day, we'll get to your Arkansas question today, presented by Alumni Hall. Get your greatest and best apparel from Alumni Hall right there in Fayetteville, 3417 North College Avenue. You can also shop online at alumnihall.com/Arkansas-Razorbacks. You can also check them out there too. And they have the best Razorback apparel that you need. Basketball season, folks. Basketball season. It's getting colder out there, and they got all the cold wear that you need with Southern Tide, Columbia, Tommy Bahama, Peter Millar, Johnny O. They got it all there at Alumni Hall, the ultimate Razorback shopping experience. I asked this question, guys, for a while there. It was the closest poll question I think I've ever asked here on this show. It's kind of separated a little bit, but still fairly close. It's simply, which describes your current feeling the most about the state of Razorback football right now? Blow it up and start it over. Don't care. Basketball. Still hopeful for wins, or they can turn it around. So right now, it's just shocking to me. 39% say they're still hopeful for wins with the football team this year. 39%. 35% say they want to blow it up and start it all over. 22% say don't care, it's basketball season. And then 5% says they can turn it around. So seems like, at least based on that, you still got some fans that are willing to be a little bit hopeful and still going to pay attention to the team, and maybe they pull something off. But I was expecting, I was expecting everybody to be like, blow it up. We need to get out of here, get out of this quickly. So
I'm openly surprised by those results, frankly.
I am too.
Me too. Yeah.
I am too. I mean,
y'all know how I feel. It's basketball season, man.
I was going to say, options 1 and 2 are really like, my brain's a 50-50 split between those two.
It's been basketball season for Curtis for quite a while now.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I know we'll talk about that, and there'll be plenty of discussions too throughout the week too, dealing with Razorback basketball, because it does start this week. That's a real basketball, real games that matter do start actually this week. So, before we will get into some basketball talk, because I think there'll be some fun things that we can do with Bet Saracen, especially some of the futures. But I did want to just look around the SEC real quick and what was the weekend that was for SEC football. Sponsored by Rhoback. It's your SEC update. Go to Rhoback.com. Great apparel, awesome stuff, high quality stuff. And if you visit Rhoback.com, you can purchase it all online, get it delivered, and shipped straight to your door. Use promo code HOGSBY20. HOGSBY20. Get 20% off your very first purchase. It doesn't matter how much you buy. That first purchase, 20% off. Guaranteed, using Hogs by 20 in that promo code. So be sure to check them out. It's Rhoback and Rhoback.com for your SEC update. Guys, there were a few games of note. Of course, it happened in the SEC besides the one that Arkansas was part of that everybody wanted to know and care about, but still nothing too great there. But either way, you add Texas A&M lose to South Carolina handedly.
Saw that coming, man.
44-20 was the final score.
If you catch South Carolina in South Carolina on the wrong day, and it's crazy because it's not Cocktober anymore, but they were still able to do this. But you catch them in Williams-Brice, man, it can get weird. And right away, you knew what was going to happen. And shout out to Rocket, man. He had like 250 yards of total offense or something.
And like 140-something rushing, 90-something receiving.
Yeah, he was balling.
I tell you, man, it's nothing makes me more sick to my stomach than to have to admit Shane Beamer's doing a damn good job of coaching football this season. Let's just call it what it is. Now I'm trying to think, was it a weird law? I guess they beat Old Dominion week 1, and that really weird
barely
game.
Yeah,
beat the dog piss out of Kentucky, right?
Yep.
Got beat up against Ole Miss, but then was really competitive against LSU as well. He's done a really good job kind of weathering the storm there, and I really didn't see that coming. I do not like Shane Beamer, but tip of the cap.
Yep. He got me with somebody handed him their chain. Did you guys see that?
I didn't see that.
And so he had some bling, and then he was like singing to his wife in the locker room after the game. Most of the time, that stuff would get on my damn nerves. But for whatever reason, this time with Shane Beamer, I was like, you know what? Good on him.
Also, the other games of note: Tennessee beat Kentucky 28-18. It's not exactly the highest scoring affair,
Turns
but
out
still,
Tennessee's not really that good. Like they might get into the playoff, but
it's crazy, dude.
They're vulnerable, man.
Yeah, I mean they got their game against Georgia is left on the schedule. They got Mississippi State this weekend, which they should beat them easily. They go to Georgia, might take a loss there, then UTEP, and then the mighty Vanderbilt Commodores at the end of the season to count it all off. Which, speaking of Vanderbilt, beat Auburn 17-7, which I was so happy about because I won money on it. But also, I talked about it last week. I was so sick of everyone just being like, well, I like Auburn this week because I think if Vanderbilt, I'm like, why can't we just say Vanderbilt's a good team? Like, why can't we just say that? Yeah. Well, they beat Auburn in Auburn 17-7, and they're 6-3, 3-2 in SEC play right now. So, shout out to them, the Commodores. I guess it's the Doors. Is that usually what they go by? Their like shortened name, the Doors.
Major shout out to Vandy, man. It's the quickest they've reached bowl eligibility in program history.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
James Franklin never did it.
Not this fast.
Not that fast. Wow, that's impressive.
Yep. Clark Lee's going to get that money from somebody at some point in time. But yeah, shout out to Vanderbilt. Also, some Georgia beat Florida 34-20. All right.
Bullshit. I feel bad for Florida, man, because they would have beaten Tennessee had Graham Mertz not got hurt, and then they would have beaten Georgia had DJ Lagway not gotten hurt. I firmly believe both of those things to be true. They're out there with a freaking walk-on transfer quarterback from Yale trying to close out that game. It's just a break for Georgia that they didn't deserve. And their QB over there at Georgia, and Andrew, you've been on this since the beginning. He ain't it, man. It is not the same guy that we saw last year, Carson Beck.
You're starting to realize this was a guy who sat behind Stetson Bennett for 3 years.
Exactly.
You're starting to realize, oh, wait a minute. DeJuan Mathis and Stetson Bennett were playing over this guy. And now that he's a fifth-year senior who had a good year with a loaded offense, we're supposed to pretend like he's competent. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yep. And then he had Oklahoma beat Maine and Mississippi State beat Massachusetts. Is that how you say it? Massachusetts?
UMass. Just UMass, yeah. The Minutemen.
Well, the Minutemen. The men of minutes there at UMass. So there you have it. There is your SEC update presented by Rhoback. Again, use that promo code HOGSBY20 for 20% off your first purchase. A few chats before we get into best and worst of the weekend, too, because there's still a lot of things that we want to dive into that because there's plenty of it to go around when it came to best and worst. Apparently, there was a fight about to break out in our chat. That's great. Good to hear.
Someone in timeout.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
It was a guy who runs a route running academy in Georgia who, spoiler, was very adamant that Malachi Singleton should be starting and got into a very heated argument. And believe it or not, Pooh Bear the Plug was not involved in this.
That's shocking to me. Well, here's the rule, folks. If you guys are going to get in a fight physically in our chat, it has to be done at the Alma Sonic. You go down there. That's where all the fights happen in the States. So don't do it in the chat. Do it at the Alma Sonic. Then you'll have it all set from squared away. Let's see. Also, Jeff says, it is hard to donate to a school that isn't rising. It isn't an investment unless you see the potential in the rise of play. You can't see the potential in this program at the moment. It's kind of the big one. Yeah. It's a chicken which came first.
Egg situation,
Mm-hmm.
The people aren't like, we're not winning because of NIL, or are people not donating NIL because you're not winning? It's one of those things.
How about you just win, and then you can let the rest of it take care of itself. And then also, I like this from Sam Jones, says, for Arkansas fans, NIL means noted in losses.
That's a great comment, bro.
Yeah.
That's a good comment because
that's really good.
They only bring up NIL when they lose.
Yeah. Also, like this from Kings. Kings like, to neighbors with a flu pod today. Kurt's going to help him off the screen, dropping a 50 ball worthy rant today. Man, trust me, if I was feeling at my 100% and I had enough in me, I probably would have started, throwing things again because that's what I do. But nope, nothing to throw today. At least not yet. Wade also says, can we get an Inside Arkansas Storm Chase stream later? Yeah, apparently it's supposed to be like here very soon, guys. It's going to get pretty nasty out there in Northwest Arkansas.
What scares me about it up here is I'm looking at my window now, and it's just a picturesque day outside. Bright, sunny, not a cloud in the sky. That's a bad omen.
Well, dude, I was nervous one, just because, I mean, my internet is famously extremely unreliable. So I was like, dude, if the wind blows the wrong direction, I'm going to be in trouble here.
Yeah.
And it started raining pretty good. Like at the first 30 minutes of the stream, I was kind of keeping my eye peeked out the window. But yeah, I'm same with you where it's gone full circle now where it rained pretty good in Farmington for a while, but it's beautiful outside. It's golfing weather now.
Yeah, which is always very, nervous. We'll keep everybody updated, though, on it. But what's fun about me is that I'm on the third floor. So, really good spot for tornadoes, I hear, to be as high as possible. So,
dude, John, you remember that SEC tournament basketball game when Curtis and Scotty were gone, but me and you were at the office and we were like, we thought we were about to die, dude, because we were so high you could almost like see like stuff forming. I was like, oh God, this is not good.
Yeah, we were gonna see our demise in 4K, but instead we saw it a little later, at least metaphorically speaking. But yes, that was crazy. So yeah, if you're out there in the Arkansas, many of the Arkansas area, but especially the western side and northwestern side, be safe. I got the weather on right now in front of me, and it looks like Golden City. Take cover for those of you who are in Golden City right now. Looks like it's going to be pretty rough going through Boonville, that area. But yeah, we'll keep you up to date on it, folks, and just stay safe out there. If the weathermen, women, whoever tells you to take shelter, do it. Don't be too prideful. It's just it's not worth it. So
if Rugger says stop, drop, and roll, you stop, drop, and roll.
I don't listen. Yeah, I don't listen to that guy. So
329 Darby baby.
I'm more of a. I don't know who this guy is actually. Whatever this guy's name is, I'm watching. I'm for this guy. No, I know him. Actually, dude, I'm not even kidding. I think this is Roger Scott's son that does the weather up here for Channel 5. I think. I could be completely wrong about that. Sorry if I am. I just need to stop talking. Let's get to something more important, though. Not more important than tornado safety, but you know what I'm saying. Best and worst of the weekend. Because it's been presented by the LEROY Lounge. We're going to be there Thursday night. They're not going to have a live stream as far as an NCAA football game. Who knows? Maybe we still will just for fun, but it is a bye week. But we're still going to be out there hanging out on Thursday night. We will be talking a lot of basketball during that stream, I am sure. So be sure to check it out. It's the LEROY on Dixon Street. They're open from 11 to 11 each and every day. Great food. They're there for lunch. They're there for dinner. They got specials. Got the golf simulators, duck pin bowling. They got it all. Great spot, great place. If you haven't checked it out, be sure to do so because you will be wowed by the experience you'll there enjoy. They're at the LEROY at 644 Dixon Street in Fayetteville, at where the old UARK Bowl used to be. But best and worst of the weekend, fellas. I'm going to go ahead and start off with my best of the weekend. I'm a sucker for really good creative things, not regurgitated crap, but I love creativity. And I'm going to tell you this, guys, right now.
You stole mine.
Oh, did I steal yours? Okay, well, I'll tell you what. You can have that one. I got my second one. Andrews is going to be the one that really, he appreciates creativity and everything too. So, but the other best of the weekend that I wanted to throw out here, which is kind of funny, is actually the altercation, which I'm sure you guys maybe saw with James Franklin, a guy we were just talking about, with the fan. And I'm going to explain why I feel like this might be the best of the weekend. It's not going to wow anybody as far as, the processes behind it of like, oh, you enjoy it when coaches and fans get into it. It's like, no, I don't necessarily enjoy it, but there is still something to be said about it. But still, here's James Franklin dealing with a fan, and interesting if you can hear what he has to say about the kid and his name too.
You're going to be man enough to call it. What's your name?
Okay, so the main reason I love that is because he kept saying, what's your name, kid? What's your name? He's mad. He lost the game. But the way that kid was dressed was impressive. He looked like, dude, he looked like the paper boy from the 1920s. And like, you're going to roll up to James Franklin after a game like that in that outfit and be like, hey, 2 losses again. You're like, come on, man. It's just, you're going to be that. And then when he's like, ask your name, you got up and walked away. I was like, come on, dude. If you're going to go out and coach like that, don't be dressed as a paper boy. Have some class. All right. Be dressed in a jersey and be drunk and fat and have stains on your jersey like everybody else. But don't be looking like, Little Orphan Annie or whatever his name is, Oliver Twist, rolling up there and trying to tell James Franklin how to coach his team.
A Peter Millar medium, you don't like that?
Yeah. That was really funny though to see. I think it's about when fans get in with coaches, it's dumb because it doesn't make anyone look good. But James Franklin at Penn State, if you're very upset and you hate him and you don't want him there anymore, I know some places I wouldn't mind him being the head coach. Just saying. So that was the best of a weekend I saw though.
Truth. There's some truth to that. Yeah, some of my best of the weekend we kind of already talked about. The Vandy thing was cool. Diego Pavia being 3-0 against Hugh Freeze in his career is pretty cool. How about Dak Prescott though? Are you guys good at reading lips? Because he said exactly how he feels about his team, which is that they effing suck, and that's gonna live in infamy. I mean, that's gonna be the most memeable, gifable thing to ever come out of his mouth, and it's going to live for years. It was epic, man, and it really made me laugh out loud. And he's right. So,
and he's extremely right. Man, shout out to, by the way, fired Dennis Allen. My buddies were rejoicing this morning.
I also wanted to say too,
the hell out of the Cowboys. So it just tells you the levels.
I want real quick. I want to say just to that Dak thing. What makes me laugh is I'd love to know how many times that's actually been uttered by like the quarterback of a team on the sidelines, just in history. I guarantee you, some people are just like, "Oh man, this is just a tough look." I'm like, man, that's probably been said all the time by the quarterback. Like, man, we suck, dude.
We can pretend like it's a big deal. It's not a big deal at all.
Not at all.
I mean, what else are you supposed to say as you're getting beat by 30 or whatever? Well, John, I really appreciate you saving this for me because I thought I was going to be like breaking the mold here. Curtis, I'm sure you saw this, but are y'all aware we got a nice new celebration in the end zone celebration world? This is beautiful. So I'm going to play the celebration video first. Flag coming out immediately. But it was so inspirational. This is from Incarnate Word, by the way, former home of Otha Peters. But it inspired NFL wide receivers Drake London and Amon-Ra St. Brown, who did the same thing, which I think is always cool. Like to see stuff like that. Like, I don't know, end zone celebrations are cool, and Amon-Ra St. Brown has some interesting ones. Every time he catches a touchdown, which is like every week at this point, it's pretty wild. But I'm a huge fan of end zone stuff.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I loved it too, and I've also I love when things get mimicked like that in the creative. But the thing is I know you didn't have the audio, but you do know who threw him the touchdown pass, right?
Incarnate Word,
because it hit me like a ton of bricks.
I feel like I do know this, but who is it?
Zach Calzada.
Oh wait, yes, we knew that. We've talked about. Calzada.
Oh, I know, but it was funny. I forgot all about it until I saw that highlight. It's like Calzada throws. I'm like Calzada over there at Incarnate Word. Great.
Zach Calzada.
Yep. But apparently that's what he's doing now is that Incarnate Word.
Who's the most likely Razorback to do that celebration?
Satania. It seems like a Satania thing.
Okay.
I was going to say Armstrong. I could see Armstrong.
We'll never know.
Yeah.
Dude, they throw in passes anywhere but the end zone, man. It's crazy.
The funniest person that could do that would be like Braylon Russell, like the biggest dude, just to get out there and do that celebration.
Jalen Green would do it and then like tear something.
Actually, take that back. Take it back. Andreas Poski doing that would be awesome. Just the tight end that's from Denmark that nobody really knows much about.
Did y'all see the guy that hurt him? I think it was Memphis that he clearly messed something up in his knee doing the weird Ronaldo celebration. It was horrible.
Don't do celebrations. You can get hurt doing anything. Yes. But don't do things that could actually end up hurting you. Be smart. Yeah. Do it the celebration like that the guy did. Just stand on your head and fall. Seems like a good one. All right. So my worst of the weekend is not the reaction to this. It's just the leading up to it. I don't know if you guys saw what happened with Jason Kelsey over the weekend. But Riley, cover your eyes. But there was some fans that tried to get in his face, so he took his phone and he smashed it for him.
Kelsey! Hey, Kelsey! How does it feel your brother's a faggot? Kelsey, can I get a fist bump? Kelsey, can I get a fist bump?
So, in case you couldn't provide context with that, there was a fan that said something to the extent of something about Taylor Swift and, Travis Kelce being in the shadow and all that. So he literally grabs the kid's phone and smashes it on the concrete and keeps walking. So here's my thing of why it's the worst of the weekend is because, there's been people talking about, oh, this is terrible. And this kid's apparently upset and needs his phone paid for and everything. How about you just don't be a jerk and don't go up to people like that and say stupid stuff like that? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. So shout out to the Jason Kelce. He doesn't care. He literally does not care. He broke the guy's phone and just kept on walking in stride as he was holding his beers. So can't have that happening though.
Yeah, that was crazy. My worst of the weekend. I had the video, but I chose not to pull it up because I don't know. It's just kind of an uncomfortable deal. But I didn't know we were just letting the hard Fs fly out on the show today, so I should have just pulled it up. But did you guys see the police officers just beating the shit out of fans at the Florida Georgia game?
Yes.
That was insane, dude.
Yes,
that was this
Over
wasn't
the
a
top.
you're resisting arrest. This is I'm fighting you type of stuff. It was absolutely crazy,
dude. It looked like that one guy had the guy up on the WWE turnbuckle, and it was just clubbing right in the hand, bro.
Yeah,
because here's
they courtesy tased one dude and then started jumping on his head. And it's like, man, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. Well, and then he also had the handcuffs in his hand, so it was like almost using them as brass knuckles type of thing.
Yeah.
Like he was like stabbing them with it. And here's the thing, like we don't need to go down the road of policing and all because but still, you just don't like if the guy's done, he's done. You tased him, he's done. You were just mad. That's all that was. You were just mad and you wanted to pummel him.
I'm anxious to hear like the full explanation of what led to that. I haven't seen it yet if it's out there, but my God, man.
Mm-hmm. I mean, because that's my thing. If you're tasing somebody and he's tased and he's drunk and he's a big old boy, but I don't know. I just don't think laying haymakers on him as much as possible is just going to be like, this is good police work. It's the way to do it. Like, I don't know. It's just, it was weird, but yeah, that was crazy.
That was nuts.
Yeah. I thought you were going to bring up, sorry, Andrew, I thought you were going to bring up when you said F-bombs about that was about that high school coach that got suspended. And they were like, because of what he said to the locker room. It was and I was thinking, I may have sent this to you, Curtis, if you haven't seen it, because you probably appreciate it. But there was this high school coach, he got suspended, might be fired. It's a 1.5 minute long video, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, what did he say? Jeez. Pulled up the video. All he did was just drop F-bombs. He didn't even do it yellingly. He just dropped F-bombs and had some colorful language, but there was nothing offensive, nothing like, oh my goodness, those kids, nothing like that. He just was cursing. I was like, come on, guys.
Yeah, you got to send me that. I would have been fired real quick.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I thought about playing it, but I'm like, no way. It does, because it does feature a lot of F-bombs. Like Scarface would be.
We're talking about which F-bomb here?
Like the
Rhymes with Lux.
Like the F-bomb. Like, I mean, yeah, that's the F-bomb. If it was something else.
There's two very clear F words. I don't know why you're playing dumb here.
The one that rhymes with puck.
Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah. I was thinking the other one, so I was like, just repeated. Yeah.
Okay, that would be a weird thing to say in a high school locker room. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was like, yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that's locker room talk, and it should stay locker room talk.
It should. I will say it'd be one of those things if it was the other one word that you're talking about, Ellis. It'd be someone like, yeah, you can't say that, but it'd kind of be funny to hear just somebody have a conniption fit just saying that one word over and over. And it's like, why?
That's what I had in my brain. I was like, man, it's interesting. It's an interesting approach from the head coach. But
people do that in their sleep.
Yeah, seriously, that's what I hear.
Yeah, that's what we've heard. Well, guys, you're familiar with the Bad Beats segment that Scott Van Pelt will always do that shows all that stuff. And it's always point totals or spreads. How about this one? So Tua Tagovailoa, his over-under for passing yards was 243.5. He had 254 passing yards before this play.
Great job by our Fox Sports crew. Eric Mandia, Artie Kemper leading it. Tyler Dare, our associate director, our technical director. Derek Joyo, for you didn't know. Congratulations to one of our good buddies, Bobby Reeves, one of our replay operators. He and his wife.
Worst way you could possibly lose a bet. Lost 23 yards on one play. So he could have lost 10 yards and the bet still hits. Loses 23 on one play, down 3, no lateral, no nothing. Rough one.
I would be irate. I'd lose it, dude.
I would, yeah. I'd go Jason Kelsey and just slam my phone to the concrete and just be out of my misery. Yeah, that's pretty rough. I did want to bring this up because it was kind of going along with the coaches and all that. But Andrew Ellis, maybe you can speak a little bit on this. The Louisiana Monroe coach, the offensive line coach, that got a little physical and people did not like it on the sideline. So there's been an apology. The player came out. He's like, I accept apology. We're good. Like, everything's good. But people were really upset by that, too.
I forgot about that.
They were disciplining him, right? Like,
They
didn't
put a statement out.
Yeah.
I mean, look. The funniest part is the kid, like, pretty much running away.
Yep.
It's a hilarious clip. And, like, look, I'm not a proponent of physical violence. I've definitely not coached a player. You know, he didn't put his hands on him, right?
No, he's kind of like ran up on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't listen. He towed the line for sure. Spirited horseplay between the lads is what that is.
What would the reaction have been if the large man in the helmet would have just headbutted the coach?
It probably would not have been good.
Credit to the player for handling it pretty well. I will say, other than it really did. He really would look like what he was doing was trying to run off the sidelines because you don't want to be, jogging. He was trying to run off, but once he saw the coach, it did seem like he was kind of running away from him. But he didn't freak out. He just kind of ate it, and that's what you got to do.
I hate to bring this up because if he's listening, he might get mad at me. So please don't get mad at me. But that coach and that reaction kind of made me think if Eric Musselman was an offensive line coach and of that size, that would be the type of thing you'd see him throwing the headset, the clipboard's flying down. He's running after him, and he doesn't shove him. But just, hey, buddy, get really getting after it. That's what it reminded me of, is just that type of outburst and insanity. So,
yeah.
That was good.
Energy, man.
Yeah. A lot of altercations going on over the weekend, man. You got James Franklin with the fans. You got, the people down there at ULM. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then this one, you guys see that?
Oh, yeah.
That was a good one. The Tennessee guy shoving the Kentucky.
How do you not call something on that?
I don't know.
I understand, some things you miss or whatever, but when a Tennessee player, he is not doing anything to get out of the way, and he's putting his arms out forward, and it just stops him. It's like, come on, dude.
I would like to thank Tennessee for temporarily getting the Kentucky fans out of Arkansas's mentions, because there was a lot of ticked off BBN and media folks at Kentucky just about the way Tennessee and their fans apparently conducted themselves during that game.
And apparently Matt Jones, our boy Matt Jones, was playing the role of I can't finish that sentence, but he was doing the situation where he was like, oh, they shouldn't be expected to beat Tennessee. Like, it's fine. And people really didn't. They were heating him up for that.
Yeah. Well, that's the what goes on there with Tennessee fans and to the Tennessee players and all that should not be surprising to anybody. If you know any Tennessee fans, that's just how it is. But yeah, let's just get over the fact of how people conduct themselves and whatnot. It does get a little bit old. If it's such classlessness that's over there. Yeah, shut up. If you would have won, you wouldn't have cared. It's like, it wouldn't even have mattered. It's like, come on now. There are people that saw Hawk fans just classness from Lane Kiffin and all that stuff, running up the score. I do not care.
Everyone would do that in that position. Everybody. Yes. Unless Arkansas had taken out their starters, in which case you probably would be like, all right, we'll call off the dogs here. But yeah, it's a football game.
And it still blows me away, dude. And I said this on Saturday, is people were like, well, why does he do? I thought him and Pittman were friends. Like, why would he do this? That doesn't matter, bro. They are playing for their college football lives, and you're beating the hell out of a team in Fayetteville that beat a Tennessee team that you're competing with for a playoff spot. So it's style points, brother. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah. And also, let's not forget, not saying this was the reason, because I think your reason, Curse, that you gave is much better. But, 2 years ago when Ole Miss came to town, Arkansas beat the brakes off of Ole Miss. And I'm sure it was a little personal for Kiffin. It was embarrassing to him to lose.
Arkansas accidentally called off the dogs in that one because they just stopped moving the ball after they got up 42-6, which is fair. But again, and I know people have lit Pittman up for that, of not running up the score in that situation. And I don't really care that much, but again, you do have to have a little bit of a killer instinct in this industry.
Yes, you do. You have to. And that's what was going to be my whole point. I'm like, I want a coach that has that mentality. Like, want to go out there and doing it.
I have a best of the weekend to add real quick, and it was Lane Kiffin almost decapitating an official with a football in the first quarter.
Yeah,
that was good.
I forgot about that until now. That was awesome.
That was good. Yeah.
How did he not get a flag for that? I mean,
he threw it at the dude, and like luckily the ref just like ran us. But like I didn't think he was politely I felt like it also would have changed the game because I feel like they scored. Right. 15 yards. I'm just saying, but no, I thought that was interesting.
Seemed like a laser to me, but yeah.
Hey, you still got it. Still got the arm out there. That's for sure. All right. Well, good stream. A lot of football talk. I know we will get to basketball tomorrow, folks, because there's a lot of stuff. Definitely those Bet Saracen props, especially for future. Some of those good ones coming out. But guys,
we'll get Bruiser Flint or something sometime tomorrow, I'd imagine, to preview the game. So.
Oh, I was thinking, you'll get Riley out there in the press conference and just break it down at this point.
I love that.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, guys, before we get out of here?
Nah, not really. It's college basketball's opening day. It's sicko season. Like I just watched IU Indianapolis versus IU Columbus the entire second half. So that's where I'm at. But really good games. Lipscomb, who Arkansas plays on Wednesday, actually plays their opener tonight against Duquesne, who beat Mark Pope in the NCAA tournament last year. That's at 7:00. And then 10:30 for you who have insomnia, Baylor Gonzaga on ESPN2. It's going to be a banger.
That is going to be a banger. One of the first, maybe the first sporting event I ever actually covered officially was the first day of college basketball season. It was a women's Lady Techsters LA Tech basketball game. They played at 10 a.m. to open the season against some god-awful school. But it was the first time I ever was in the press row and got credentialed, and it was a big deal for me. So I always think about that on this day. But my final thought, John, I haven't given him his props publicly. My nephew Cooper made the Pineville Junior High basketball team. Which I frankly I don't know how hard it was. I wasn't at the tryout. I was sweating bullets. I was really worried he wasn't going to make the team just because I don't know. This is the first time he's been in a position where he could have not made a team. And so I was a little nervous for him. He's carrying on the tradition of being the white boy on the basketball team, like his uncle set forth back in the day. Also, there's 4 white kids on the basketball team now. There was only one when I was there, and it was me. So it feels like a lot of people are kind of saying I'm maybe the MLK for Pineville Junior High basketball.
Get buckets, young man.
Go get it.
Appreciate you, the man, Coop.
Yep. Go get it and learn and just use your inspiration from your uncle, as he was a ball knower back then, and he can help you out. So the development stages and eras. But yes, that does it for us, though, folks. We appreciate all of you listening in, watching in. Great stream today. Sucks that it has to be about suckiness, but hey, it's part of the deal. You got to talk about the good and the bad, but it's going to be great this week, though. A lot of basketball talk's going to be happening, and we appreciate each and every one of you. So be sure to subscribe to us right here on Inside Arkansas on our YouTube page. Check us out on social media at Inside Arkansas. You can also check out our website at InsideArkansas.com for all the latest and greatest up-to-date information when it comes to all things Razorbacks. And we're going to keep it going from there. So for Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel. Tomorrow afternoon. Have a great rest of your night, everybody. We'll see you then.